Hi everyone, this is Dr. Saida Falafini from Cal Poly Pomona. So in previous session, we talked about three lean practice or lean healthcare systems techniques. The first one was value stream mapping. We learned that in value stream mapping, we basically develop a process flow. It's similar to the process when we develop a process flow of what is happening. However, in the process, in the value stream mapping, we identify the time of the operations, and we identified which one of these operations are value added and non-value added. And we also, in addition to the specifying the flow of the material or orders or customers or patients, we also identify the flow of information. And so the whole framework or roadmap associated with value stream mapping was that develop a value stream map of the current state of the system, analyze it, see what's happened, get a better sense of what is happening, what are the potential areas that can cause the problems that you're observing, what are the potential areas that can be improved or can be changed, and then based on this analysis, develop the future value stream map. And then once that future value stream map has been approved, then go ahead and implement it. And also we talk about the fact that value stream map, developing a value stream map in any setting, I would say, specifically in the hospital, if you guys are going to be hired as systems engineer in those settings, since you may not have a complete knowledge of the problem context of what is happening in the hospital, then it's always recommended that you develop a team of different systems engineers, different industrial engineers, and also different people from the problem context, nurses, doctors, technicians, and so forth, who can help you to understand the whole process better and develop the value stream map as comprehensively as possible. The other method that we learned was the A3 methods. And A3 methods pretty much has the same set of mindset and structure for dealing with problems. We start by identifying what is the problem, what is the thing that we want to do, and we are not going to do anything at this point about why the problem exists. So it's just, okay, tell me what is the problem, then trying to understand the current situation, and trying to do some root cause analysis to see what are the causes of the problems that we are seeing. And then in the next step, we develop some countermeasures, which, as we discussed in previous session, by countermeasures, we mean the things that we can change in the current state of the system, and they can improve the current state of the system. So as we try to understand the current state of the system, as we try to understand the potential causes of the problem, that would automatically give us some idea about the things that potentially we can change to make the process better. Those are what we call as countermeasures. That would help us to develop a future state of the system, suggested things that you want to change, discuss them, get the approval, and once you have that, then develop the implementation plan, that who is going to do what at which time. And then once the new change, the new system has been implemented, make sure to always come back after some time and do the follow-up, do the monitoring, do the measurement, make sure that the system has improved, make sure you have some indicators for checking the performance of the system. um, and um, and then like the example that we did in class, if the patients arrive to the diagnostic department late, so and if you were in charge of that, improving that system, and you do all the changes and you implement all the changes, later when you come back, then you can measure, collect some data again. What is the average time in the new system for the patients to go to the diagnostic department, from the point that the transporter receives a message that they have to be sent to the diagnostic department till the point that they finally get to the diagnostic department. How many cases of late arrivals we have had, and things like that. So I would definitely pick some performance measures and try to have the value of these performance measures before implementing the system and after implementing the system, so that you can see how much change you have made and if you need to make any additional adjustment or not. And a lot of these processes, this is more like a cycle, like a loop that has been that most of the time is going to be repeated several times. Sometimes you may not get the whole problem resolves and the whole system improve in just one iteration. Usually these loops, all this, for example, 7 steps for A3 method has maybe to be done another like 2 or 3 times for us to have the issue removed completely. And again, this is not just specific to the healthcare system. In any setting, that's the case. Usually, these are iterative methods, and you do it in one iteration, and you improve the problem to a good extent, but you may not solve the problem 100%. So in that scenario, you do another iteration, second iteration, or third iteration, and so forth. And then the last one that we talked about was 5S, which is more related to organizing the environment, the work environment around us, making sure that we sort things, making sure we have a systematic arrangement and use some best practices if it's needed, making sure the environment is clean, and that's something that we can sustain and maintain over time. And all of these three value stream mapping, A3 and 5S, help us to remove waste, sources of waste. This can be in terms of time or some resources that are being wasted. And when we prevent these sources of waste, then we can provide the service to the customer faster, we can provide better quality service, and so forth. The last technique that we talked about, so that's Kanban technique. So what is a Kanban? So in a healthcare setting, it happens a lot, not that it happens. So in the healthcare setting, there is a chance that the staff do not find the supply that they need, especially the nursing supplies, the I don't know, the bandage, all these things that the nurses usually need to perform the treatment. And so these supplies sometimes may not be found in the unit. And if that happens, then that obviously puts a delay on providing the care to the patient. That causes the frustration for the staff because they want this supply to be able to perform the rest of the treatment. And usually to be able to not face these situations anymore, when they are at the point that they need to place order for this supply, they may put order for a lot of supply, and that is just a lot of waste again. Why we have to right now receive something that we may end up using 8 months from now? It's just because the staff didn't want to be in that situation. They place an order for a lot of items. They place order for a lot of items, and again, as I said, that's cost to the healthcare system. That's the inventory that is not necessarily needed, and that's a lot of cost to the system. And at the end of the day, it causes interruption to the workflow of providing care to the patient. And so the whole situation here is how we can deal with these scenarios where our staff, our nurses, our doctors cannot find the supply that they need to provide care to the patients. Kanban method, which is one of the lean methods, is going to help us to deal with these situations, and it's going to help us to basically control our inventory of different supplies or different things that we have that we use in the healthcare system. And it's actually it's going to be a more visual way for performing the inventory management. And it's a tool that has been used and actually is very helpful in the healthcare setting, because especially in healthcare there is a lot of storage locations, supply room, nursing room, patient room. In all of these rooms there are the cabinets that are full, and there are cabinets and shelves that are full of supply. And as I said, these are a lot of supply, a lot of resources, a lot of inventory that may not be needed at the time, and so that they not only take space, but also they are basically the cost. And to reduce the cost in the system and to use the space properly, we can have a better system to manage the inventory and manage the supply that we want. And Kanban system can help us with doing that. And once we can manage our inventory better, we can reduce the cost. We can somehow manage not to have too much supply of the inventory, and that helps with reducing the costs. Kanban, basically, the word itself means a sign or a billboard, something like that. And usually it's the system that works with some cards, and we call them Kanban cards. And in these Kanban cards, we provide the information of the items that we need and how many of them we need and so forth. So, for example, some of the typical data or information that goes on Kanban cards are related to the item name, part number, picture or description of the item, the name of the process where this item is going to be used, how many of that item we need, and usually the name of a contact person or a phone number, such that if there is any issue related with providing that item, then that person can be contacted. And then there are some containers or bins in the healthcare facility that contain these items, and each one of those containers has one of these cards that can tell us how many of the items should be in that container, and what is the part number, as I said, and where this container is going to be in the healthcare facility. So these are some examples or images related to Kanban cards. For example, for this one, this is a syringe, 50cc syringe, and at this hospital, University Hospital, this is the part number, and we need that. So when we basically show this Kanban card to our supply room, they see that this item is needed next day. How many of them we need? 50 of them, and where is the location where this item is needed, and who is the contact person if we need to contact that person. And also here is a picture of the item to make sure that there's no confusion. This is another Kanban card, so this is a little simpler, but pretty much similar type of informations are in the Kanban cards. The item names, how many we need, and also where that item is needed. Okay, and so a couple of points before we go through an example. The good thing about using the Kanban system to place order related to these items, near supplies, for example, or some of the medications in the pharmacy, is that we place the order to try to replenish them only when we have used those items. So that's good, because then we are not going to just take the space with a lot of inventory of an item that we may not end up using in near future. And also, the Kanban system is going to help us to put an upper limit for how many items we are going to order. So we're not going to just over order the items. We are going to order the same amount that we have used. So that's also an important point in inventory management, because as I said, we don't want to have too many inventories. That's a lot of cost, and we don't need that. And then on the other hand, once these items are provided to the, for example, nursing room, once the bandages have been provided to the nursing room, then our supply side of the healthcare system is going to make sure we have enough. It's going to make sure that also they place some order to get some bandage from our supplier outside the hospital. Okay. And as I said, the Kanban system is going to help us to put an upper limit on the level of inventory or the working process. So those bandages that are now in the nursing room, that are now in the patient room, and they are going to be used. And so we are not going to overload the system with those number of items. And also, Kanban system is going to also help us to to make sure the system is performing like a pull system as opposed to a push system. A push system is a system in which each unit is going to prepare the material or the items and it's going to send it to the next one. So it's going to push it to the next unit. Okay, so that's what we call a push system. For example, a lot of manufacturing processes are like push system. Once the first machine is done with processing the part, they're going to push it to the next machine, and then the next machine is done, and then they are going to push it to the next machine, and they're done. And once they are done, they are going to push the item to the market or to the inventory, so that later it goes to the market, and then the customer buy it from the store whenever they need the item. However, in the pull system, it's different. In the pull system, a customer comes and they tell the system that they need a product or they need a service, and then the system starts the whole process for providing that item or providing that product. So a good example of that is with a lot of, for example, computers and laptops that we order these days. We may go to the system and pick our own different, like what is the memory that I want to have, what is, for example, the graphic card that I wanted to have on my laptop, and so forth. So we basically put the information of all the different pieces of them of our laptop or our computer together, and that it may take a week or two or a month for that laptop to be assembled and finally to be shipped to us. So that would be a pull system. The customer or the order comes, and then the whole production process is going to be started. And the Kanban system is going to also make the whole inventory management to be like a pull system as well. For example, in a pharmacy, once the medication gets is close to being finished, then the pharmacy starts placing the order for the item to arrive. So it's not just that someone in the hospital is going to place order for a specific medication, no matter hospital wants that item or not. So that's not going to happen. Hospital has to be done with an item or gets to a specific depletion level. Once they get to that level, then they're going to place the order for that specific pill or medication. Then the whole supply process is going to start, and they're going to get the pill and they're going to deliver to the pharmacy. Okay, so it makes the system, the inventory management, to be more like a pull system as opposed to a push system. So let's look at one example. So this is replenishment of syringe in a healthcare unit. So let's assume there is a box. So they keep 25 syringe in a box, and this box is the one that is being used in the nursing unit. We let the box to get depleted to a predetermined level. So let's assume we use these syringes for different patients and different operations and so forth till we get, let's say to 5 syringe in the box to a predetermined level. And once that happens, this box has a Kanban card, which specifies the name of the item, where it is going to be used, how many of these items we need, and also by what time. Okay. And then that Kanban card is called a withdrawal card, because basically what it says is that, okay, we have a supply room in which this item exists. Go to that supply room and withdraw a box of 25 syringe. That's why it's called withdrawal. That Kanban card is called withdrawal Kanban card, because it's going to withdraw the number of syringes that are needed from that supply room. So then that Kanban card is sent to that withdrawal Kanban card is sent to the storeroom or to the supply room, indicating that we need a box of 25 syringes. We need that in the nursing room. And then also we specify when do we need that. The reason that we don't wait till we finish everything and we place an order is that the supply room, the storeroom, may take some time to provide another box of 24 syringe. Because of that, we don't want to finish everything before we place an order. That's why here we said, wait till you get to a predetermined level. Wait till you get up to, for example, 5 syringes in the box, and then place the order. Do not wait till you get to 0 syringe. No. Well, wait till you get to a predetermined level, 5 or 10 syringes in the box, then place the order. Then in that time that the storeroom will take to provide a box of 25 syringes again, you can use that 10 units or that 5 units of syringes that had been left in the box. So the storeroom, once they receive the Kanban card, then they know that, okay, this box of syringes are being depleted. So then they provide a box of 25 syringe to the unit that has demanded the box, and the way that it works in this system is that this whole process takes a day. So by next day, they will make sure that the box of 25 syringes is at the unit that demanded the syringe in the first place. And let's assume that's the nursing unit. Okay. And then also the storeroom returns the Kanban card with the item to the nursing room. Till again, we need to refill those syringes. Okay. So now, the one good thing that happens is that in the nursing room, we are not going to overload the nursing room or the patient room or wherever unit is requesting the syringes. We're not going to overload it with so many syringes, right? We have a box of 25 and we're going to use it. And when we get to 10 of them or 20 or 5 of them, we are going to again ask our supply room to send us another box. And that's what I said when I said Kanban method puts an upper limit on number of items that we are going to hold in our rooms, in our nursing rooms, in our patient room, and so forth. They put a upper limit on our, I would say, work in process inventory. So these syringes, when they come to the unit, they are the ones that are going to be used. So they are treated as work in process. They are not in the supply room. They are not on the supply side. They are in the healthcare facility. They are in the nursing room, in doctor rooms, in patient rooms, and they're going to be used. So they are treated as work in process. And similar to the manufacturing processes, we want to reduce number of work in process, because work in process is basically is a resource, is the money that has been spent, but it's sitting somewhere in the system and is not leaving the system to make money for us. So in manufacturing settings, we always want to reduce work in process, and the same for healthcare setting or any service industry. Those supplies that are sitting to be used are basically work in process, and we don't want to have too many of those. So the storeroom then returns the Kanban back to the room that initially uses these syringes. And then the storeroom now also needs to replenish its own supply. So now the storeroom has provided 25 syringes to the nursing room that requested those syringes in the first place. Now storeroom also has to make sure that they have enough syringes in the room, so that as nursing rooms and the patient rooms and doctor rooms request for these syringes, they have enough supply to provide. So those Kanban cards also are going to be used, so the storeroom can show and can prove that they have already replenished the demand of the nursing room. So 25 of their syringes are out. So now they need to place an order to their vendor to basically replenish those items in their in the storeroom. Okay, so storeroom is the one that contacts the suppliers and vendors and get the items for the hospital. But again, that Kanban card also places an upper limit on number of orders that that even the storeroom is going to place. So again, storeroom is not going to just get a lot of syringes and not use them for foreseeable future, but they just place an order because they just want to place a huge order. And this cycle is repeated as necessary. Okay. So this was just one simple example that how this Kanban method or Kanban system can be used for helping us to manage the level of inventory. Obviously, in this example, there are a lot of things that are not trivial and they need further analysis to be specified. How do I know a box of 25 syringe is a good one? Why not a box of 50 syringes? Okay. How do I come up with this number to be the proper number for making sure that the flow is going smoothly and we are not going to put or cause any hold on the patient flow or on providing the care to the patient? We say, okay, start placing an order or start sending the Kanban card to the storeroom when the level of the syringes in the box get to a predetermined level. But what is that level? What is a reasonable level that we need to have? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 12? What is that number? And again, that's not something trivial to specify. We have to see how long usually does it take for the storeroom to send us another box of 25 syringes. And in that time, usually how many syringes are going to be used. So here, the storeroom is going to send the box in the next day, and maybe through some analysis they have done, they have seen that maybe in over a day till the next box comes, they use 5 syringes, for example. So that predetermined level then for them is going to be 5 because they know by the next day that they're going to receive another box of 25 syringes. They're going to finish using those 5 that were left in the previous boxes. And yeah, so, and or for example, there are so many other scenarios where these right now it says on the box, but in a lot of systems, these are bins or containers that carry, for example, in a lot of pharmacies, these are containers that hold different type of medications, and how many of those containers we have in our system and so forth. So these are all different type of questions that should be answered for any Kanban system for it to work properly. So these specify the overall process, the steps of the overall process. But as I said, there are certain decisions that have to be made, a lot of them based on the historical data and maybe some inventory management analysis to find out how many Kanbans are needed, what is that predetermined level before we place another order or before we send the Kanban card to the supply room and so forth. Okay, but the idea here was just to give you a better idea on how this Kanban system, which is just a visual method, basically. These Kanban cards are the visual tool here. It's more a visual method that is going to help us to manage our inventory. It's a little less sophisticated than our central inventory management systems that we usually have. But still, if it's designed properly, if these levels and these limits are specified properly, the Kanban system actually has proved to be a great source for making sure these supplies, especially in the healthcare setting, they are there when they are needed, because the lack of those supplies or not having them at the right time can have more severe consequences as opposed to a manufacturing facility. In a manufacturing facility, worst case scenario, we can't get the customer or product done at the right time, and we may get some financial fine and things like that. So, but in a healthcare setting, if you don't have the right supply at the right time, that might affect the life of a person. So the consequences can be a lot more severe. Let me show you an example. I want us to watch this video together. I found it interesting, actually. It shows the application of a two-bin Kanban system. I will tell you in a little bit what is a two-bin Kanban system for nursing supplies in St. Clair Hospital. Okay, so let's watch this together.
When staff can't quickly find the supplies that they need, we end up with delayed patient care, frustrated staff, hoarding, and over-ordering of items.
Can you hear this? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go from this.
When staff can't quickly find the supplies that they need, we end up with delayed patient care, frustrated staff, hoarding and over-ordering of items, which adds cost to our system, as well as interruptions to the workflow when materials handlers have to answer the phone to take special orders.
Like most hospitals, we used to replenish our nursing supplies using the PAR system. With the PAR system, each item will have a set PAR level based on historical usage. The material handler would need to count how many of each item that was left, enter that amount into the system, and deliver exactly enough of that item to bring it back up to par. In reality, with every supply room housing over 200 separate items on average, a material handler would do a quick visual scan to see what was running low, and those are the items that get restocked. A seasoned material handler could be very effective with this method thanks to years of experience. For a new employee, however, this process has a lengthy learning curve. Once a material handler scans the items and enters the quantity which is actually left, he goes down to the storeroom on the first floor and downloads his handheld. The system automatically prints a pick ticket with the items needed to replenish the unit. He then pulls the stock from the storeroom shelves and delivers it to the units.
At St. Clair Hospital, we set out to find a stable, reliable way of replenishing nursing supplies. We know from Toyota or lean principles that we want to pull what we need from upstream whenever possible. So we began experimenting with different kinds of Kanban systems or signals that would let nursing staff easily signal to materials exactly when an item is low and needs to be replenished. The trigger that helped us get on the right track was a New York Times article about how Seattle Children's Hospital had converted their nursing supplies to a two-bin system using lean principles and had great results. After a site visit where the staff at Seattle Children's generously shared their experience, we decided to follow suit and develop our own two-bin system. We recognized that the work of switching over all our supplies to this pull system would take a significant investment of time. And so with the support of our CFO, Rick Chesnos, a longtime advocate of Kanban systems, and Director of Materials Management, Dan Pice, we hired an industrial engineer to help our materials supervisor build the new system. Together, they converted 28 different supply areas in 21 units in just 10 months.
Every unit requires extensive backstage planning, and about 70% of that time is spent preparing and analyzing data. First, we looked at usage history and through a series of calculations and statistical analyses, established new stocking numbers. Second, we determined size and space requirements. For example, calculating what size bin is most appropriate for toothpaste versus 4x4 gauze pads. One major challenge presented was assessing the physical layout of each unit stockroom, as most varied significantly. We created floor plans for each unit. One thing we learned from this project is that fixed cabinetry is an enemy of lean. Plant operations often provided extensive facility changes, removing cabinetry and unused sinks that were taking up valuable real estate. By carefully reviewing the data and planning the layout from floor to ceiling, we were often able to add previously non-stocked items to nursing units. The next step was to physically build the carts, load the bins in the right location, and label them. Once complete, the carts were delivered to the target supply room and existing stock was transferred to the new bins. Visual cues were provided to instruct nurses of the new system. If you pulled the last item out of the bin, simply place the empty bin on the top shelf and pull the remaining full bin forward, and you're done.
The two-bin replenishment system is now much easier. Instead of counting every item that needs to be replenished, all the material handler needs to do is scan the card code. Then scan each of the empty bins on the top shelf and enter 0 for the amount of each one. The count is 100% accurate every time and requires only a few seconds per empty bin. When the material handler delivers the exact amount needed to replenish the bin, he simply places the full bin behind the front bin, thus guaranteeing first in, first out, and virtually eliminating the chances of having expired items. Usage can be monitored, and fast or slow-moving products can be increased, reduced, or removed as needed before they expire.
The nursing staff was asked to start using the new system and provide feedback. Through this process, we fine-tuned the system to each unit's specific desires for stock placement. If a nurse cannot find a particular product, a cross-reference chart is provided to quickly find its location.
On 6C, we have been very fortunate through the years. Dawn has always stocked us very well. Now we use the 2-bin system, like it. We never seem to really run out of anything. So it's a good system.
There was a bit of a learning curve, relearning where everything was located. But since it's been implemented, we do not run out of things, much less times that we're frustrated having to wait for things from materials management. Things are here at our fingertips. We can get to them quickly in those emergent situations, and even the non-emergent situations. It just helps your flow of care, less frustration for everyone. And so it's been a good implementation here in the intensive care unit.
Before the ICU was converted from their PAR system, they were calling down for urgently needed supplies several times a day. In 1 month alone, the ICU sent down 73 handwritten requisition forms. As soon as the 2-bin system was installed, the number of manual requisitions dropped to 0. The best thing about it is my budget, my variance report, my budget on supplies every month has been under budget since we put this in place. And that's a good thing for me. So then I don't have to go into explaining why I use too many supplies, because we don't.
When Bob and Will first came to me with the presentation for the 2-bin system, I was totally against it. And I think I maybe even made them cry because I just didn't want it to happen. But now I'm here to tell you that it is truly one of the best systems we have ever implemented in this hospital. There is never a question that supplies are going to be available to the nurses. They are consistently in the same space. And I have not had one complaint from a nurse or a CNA, anyone, since this has been implemented. We have never had a shortage. And so I can now apologize to Will and Bob and say that I was wrong, but it is truly a wonderful system and I'm an advocate for it.
So you're a woman in the executive ranks.
Yeah, so let me just go. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to share a couple of points that you found interesting in the video? I'm going to go over a couple of points that I thought actually are valuable, and they just confirm a couple of items that we listed here. But was there anything that caught your eyes or attracted your attention?
The visual management of having the empty bins on top of the shelves makes it very clear to see what's missing or what needs to be replaced.
Exactly. And if you remember here, we said something similar that provides more, Kanban provides more a visual signal, either through these Kanban cards or through these empty bins that are up there. It's more a visual signal that we need to replenish the supply. That's a great observation. What else?
Also, by having them all together at the top, the ones that are missing, it's a one-stop thing. Instead of having to go through all the bins to figure out which ones are missing, you're able to just go get all of the missing supplies at once.
Yeah, exactly. Just as it says in the video, it's a couple of seconds of scanning that barcode for the Kanban card for that bin to know what item has to be ordered and or replenished and how many and so forth. What else, guys?
It takes out the experience level needed. Like, I know they were mentioning how a seasoned employee could do this easily, but you can easily replace someone if they leave.
Yeah, exactly. Since it's a system, and that's important, since it's a system, because in the previous method, in the PAR system that they had, it was more like someone would walk around and would just look around and would get a sense or get a feeling, oh, I think here we need to order some, or here we need to order some. That's obviously needs experience if that's how you are going to find out which one to order, which one not to order. The PAR system or the PAR method that they were using at first, that's experience based, obviously. But this method is a system. Anyone can join at any point. This is a system. This you just follow the steps of the system and then you're good to go. Anything else you guys want to add? I think one part that I like, I mean, the whole two-bin system, I mean, it was the whole, as it said throughout the video, for each one of the items, there are two bins that contain those items. And once the first bin is out, they bring the second bin forward, they start using that, and they put the empty bin on the top to be replenished. So that was the whole idea when it's a two-bin Kanban system. That's why it's called two-bin. For each item, they basically have two bins. They use one bin, they put it up to go through the replenishment, and they start using the second bin. And one of the challenges they mentioned also with the size of the bins, like which item needs a bin of what size and so forth. So that was something that they obviously found through looking at the historical data, the rate of usage and so forth. How many items per bin is needed? Also, that's not a trivial decision as well. So that again depends on the historical data on the rate of the usage of that item. And here they place, and here since it's a two-bin system, they whenever one bin is done, they place the order for that bin. But if it's only one bin, that's similar to the example that I mentioned, that's when you want to have a predetermined level, that if you have only one bin of the item, you want to say, okay, in this bin, I'm holding, for example, 50 packs of Advil pill, and then it gets to 20, that's where I'm going to place the order to refill this bin. And I know by the time that the bin is going to be refilled, that 20 items are done and have been used as well. So then the bin is going to be refilled by 50 pack of Advil pill, for example. But here it was a two-bin system, so we don't need to have a predetermined level in a bin. So as soon as the first bin is done, or as soon as any of the bins is done, then we place the order. And meanwhile, till the next order comes, we use the second bin as well. And also one other part that I like was the part when it shows a graph that it says they actually at some point they came and collected data on how the system is performing, and they saw how the number of urgent requests and so forth came down to zero, pretty much from 73 at some point to zero. So that's also an important part in all these iterative methods in the lean management, because also they also mentioned that explicitly that this wasn't something that they got correct in the first time, so they needed to do over a couple of repetitions. Gradually through learning, they were able to fine-tune and perfect the system. But that's basically the whole nature of a lot of these lean methods, and all of them have this loop or this iteration of plan, do, check, act. So plan, do the things that you need to do, but make sure to go and check and make sure that you see the improvements that you have to see. And if you don't see enough improvement, or they don't see exactly the same improvement that you expected, then make sure to go back and do some refinements and some further adjustment that to be done. And lastly, the lady that talked about the cost, I think that was at least for me, that was interesting too, because we said all of these scenarios, when you a nurse or a staff in the operating room needs a supply and the supply is not there, maybe we need to put some urgent orders, maybe we need to put higher costs to get those orders, maybe we need to do over ordering and so forth. So all of those are costs, are unnecessary costs that can be prevented if we do appropriate planning. And also I love the part that it says we hired a systems engineer, industrial engineers, and they were the ones who were able to do that as well. So that is that was a nice example. I enjoyed watching that because it just shows how this system actually can help these hospitals and healthcare units. And one good thing about them is that, as you saw, the systems that we saw here, value stream mapping, A3, Kanban system, and so forth, they're not like super complicated methods. They're not, but this system, healthcare system, is so complex, and it's just so hard to see that complexity and manage it properly. And that's why when systems like the ones that we learn come into the picture, they provide the structure that you need to have to go and analyze this system and see what is going on and how the issues have to be addressed. So these just simple structures that these lean methods provide, in terms of go understand the current system, find the causes, develop the new system or future system, implement it, monitor it, and so forth. Just this framework is enough to be able to make the changes. And also one other important factor in the video, and that's something that we also talked about in previous session, was the support of the management. The management in the last person that was interviewed mentioned that she initially didn't have interest in the system, but gradually she became supportive of the system, and that support was I think is extremely crucial in the success of these systems. If you have the best system, you do all the implementation, but there's no management support behind the change, then it's not going to be adopted properly, and you won't see the changes that you expected to see. Any question now so far? Okay. So overall, a summary of these 4 methods that we learned for the lean healthcare system, and their goal is to be able to reduce waste in the healthcare system, and they are the ones that have been adopted from manufacturing setting. And even, as I mentioned, in manufacturing setting also, they started by Toyota Manufacturing Company in 1980s, and it took 20-30 years before they fine-tune and they finally make these tools to be perfect, and they finally see all the advantages of these tools. It was not something that helped work overnight. And now, because it has been proved to be such a helpful tool in the manufacturing system, now they are being adopted by the service industry as well to help them to improve the productivity, improve the quality of the care, improve the timeliness of the care that provide to the system, and also improve the cost of the healthcare system, the care that is provided to the system, to the customers as well. And as I said, lean is a mindset, is a lean practice, lean mindset, lean thinking. And leadership and management and their support is crucial to the success of this system. And leaders are the ones that they need to motivate employees, and they need to help employees to understand the changes and show the importance of these changes so that they start adopting them. One of the staff also in the video mentioned there were some learning curves in terms of how to use the system. Like any other change that is made, there's always a learning curve, but all that matters is that the staff, the management and leadership have their support behind the system. So the staff and the personnel and technicians go through that learning process and take it serious. And so the whole mindset of trust, of making fact-based decisions and so forth also are the ones that help the environment to be ready for this type of change. And so at the end of the day, it's mainly the organizational culture. You can have the best staff, you can have the best system engineers, they can design a system for you, but if the organizational culture is not welcoming these changes, these improvements, then the implementation stage, the implementation phase would see a challenge. And the adoption, the implementation and the adoption stage would see a challenge, and the whole project finally would not succeed because there is no management support. And the fact that, as I said, in the manufacturing process, this has been a long journey. This has not happened over time. But it has been proved to be helpful tools. And obviously in the healthcare setting and in the service industry also, this is going to be a journey, but so far there are a lot of healthcare systems that have improved different lean methods. The Kanban is one, value stream mapping is also one that I have seen in many organizations to help them to modify their processes and their operations and their patient flow. And all of them have proved to be successful. So I think as a systems engineer, if you are going to work for a healthcare setting, for a healthcare unit, definitely I would recommend, as one of the first things that I would recommend you guys to do, is to explore the opportunities for implementing lean thinking and lean mindset and lean practices. I would say that's one of the approaches that usually for which you find a lot more opportunities, and they lead to an improvement a lot faster than probably other changes. So I would say start by looking at opportunities for for implementing lean thinking and lean practices. That would be my recommendation. And here are some of the references I use for putting together the slides. I have listed them here in case you guys need to use some of them. So that's the end of module 4 for us.